Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. This afternoon we're featuring a game from the Austrian 2024-25 team league between Grandmasters Andrei Esipenko from Russia, pronounced Esipenko I think, rated nearly 2700, a really strong Russian player, very young. With the black pieces, a player from Croatia, Grandmaster as well, Livaic, not quite sure how to pronounce that. And he will be defending with black in this miniature game from the Austrian League. Now, Leon also has a YouTube channel, and in fact, in his YouTube channel, he analyzes the systems that we're going to see today in the game. So a shout out to Leon if he sees this video, and if he doesn't, at least go and head over to his channel and you can check out his content. Quite good content actually. He deserves quite a few more subscribers. And Leon, if you do see this game, post something below and hey, say hello to the subscribers of this channel here. So what are we going to see in this game? Well, we are going to see a dynamic, balanced game where Leon has the opportunity to strike in the center and he doesn't. And he eventually gets hit hard on the Kingside for not doing that. And also, if you remember last video, where we talked about moving pawns in front of your castle king without a more important reason, it's always dangerous. And Leon in this game does this mistake. Now, of course, I'm just an international master, a bad one in fact, and Leon is a very strong grandmaster. So he understands perfectly the things we're talking about in the video. But the thing is, it's easy to criticize with hindsight with what has happened in the game. And it's much more difficult to play the game and find the best moves during the game. And of course, I know that as well, being a strong player myself. So we can't be too harsh on the mistakes of players when we see the games. We're showing these games for the purpose of entertainment and also to learn how to take advantage of these mistakes and to get better as a player, not and never as a criticism to the players who lose the game. I could actually post the games anonymously, just say this game was played, but then number one, you might not believe the game had been played, and number two, I really think that identifying games with the players is more effective, just in case any of you have crossed their minds the idea that I might be sort of criticizing the player. The last thing I would think of in my mind. I'm just trying to convey information in the best way possible. Let's go to the game. Esipenko started with d4, and now Leon played d6. Now this is an interesting move because it does have a system on its own. For example, against c4 he can play e5, which is a very interesting line for black. I also sometimes play d6, but my way of playing it is try and get white to commit with knight to f3 first to avoid the other system, and then I can go into the King's Indian, and I've sidestepped quite a few variations that white can play. So if you enjoy playing the King's Indian but you want to reduce the amount of theory you have to memorize, you can start with d6 after d4, but the drawback is that it allows white to play e4, so you have to be able to play also either the Perk defense or, as we will see in the game, the Black Lion, Hanhem, Philidor systems. So you have to be able to play both systems. But maybe obviously in this game you won't want to do that, but I can assure you the Philidor is quite a solid system. Knight f6 hitting the pawn, knight c3, and now e5. Now here's a major choice because white has two very reasonable options. My main line, or also what Esipenko plays here, is knight f3, developing and heading towards the Philidor. The alternative is to exchange pawns and exchange queens. Now, you might think that this is good for white because our opponent has just lost his castle's rights, which is true. However, having said that, after bishop to c4, bishop to e6, take, theory has more or less demonstrated that these positions, with the king on e7, the pawn on c6, knight on d7 to c5, a5, are perfectly fine for black. And if black knows how to play them well, then it can be a really tough grind to try and win these positions with white. I've done it myself and it's difficult. So most players, most strong players, prefer knight f3 to keep the game open. And here I generally play bishop c4. This is my main line and this is where I'm playing. By the way, I think there's a trap here which could be interesting for you guys to learn. Bishop to e7, one might think that bishop takes pawn could be good. But it isn't, because now after king g8, knight e6, queen e8, knight takes pawn, queen g6. This is actually very good for black. So be careful with these sacrifices on f7 if you find these positions. Anyway, Esipenko played bishop to d3, which is also okay. I'm not a big fan of this move, but the computer suggests it's okay, so let's go with it. Bishop to e3, just developing. Also, every time black plays c6, we always play a4. We have to prevent b5. And now there are two ways of playing. We can swap in the center, which is what Leon did, or we can go with queen to c7 and b6. And here, black goes bishop b7, a6, and then later on b5. White tries rook e1, maybe knight h4, a5. Maybe, there are several ways to go, but basically try to attack on the king side. E takes d4, bishop takes d4, queen to c7. Other moves are possible, but this is more or less okay. Castle, knight to e5. This is an interesting moment for you to pause the video if you want to try and learn some chess by yourselves. Consider, we can capture, we can drop back with the bishop, and maybe even some other interesting moves. Pick your choice, write it down on a paper, commit to your choice, and then turn the video on again and see if you've spotted the best move in this position, or at least a very interesting move. You should take a couple of minutes, not more. Do it. And then leave, if you get the right choice, leave your comment below and tell me what you did. I'm not going to give you 2 minutes of video. I'll have a bit of tea and then I'll carry on. By the way, a shout out to Kevin Winter, one of the earliest subscribers of the channel. And by now, I could even consider Kevin a good friend. He asked specifically for Black Lion games and Philidor games, so this one's for him. So, bishop to e2 is perfectly okay. And there are some other interesting moves as well. What wouldn't be okay is to exchange knights. This is not really something we'd like to do because we've just exchanged this pawn here on d6 is now on e5, which has improved black's position. We've opened up this diagonal for the bishop. We've opened up the rook, d5 rook for the... We haven't really got much in exchange for that, so we shouldn't be doing these type of exchange. But bishop e2 I think is perfectly okay. But Esipenko played knight to h2, which is not such an easy move to see. He's going to allow his bishop to be swapped, but he's going for the attack on the king side. Knight takes, queen takes, and this is the critical position for me. Although some other mistakes are made later on, from my point of view, and I'd really like to hear Leon's opinion on this in the comments. For me, this is the critical mistake where Leon misses the thread of the game. He plays b6 with the idea bishop to b7, which, as I said before, is thematic and okay. You don't really want to put your bishop on e6 if white is going to play f4 and f5. That's clear. However, the computer suggests a move which I think is very reasonable. White has just dropped back with his knight to h2. So momentarily, he's uncoordinated. His piece is not coordinated. His knight is badly placed. Also, he's just lost his pair of bishops. So why not play d5 and open up the game? This is the move I think should have been played. And if white captures, we will have an isolated pawn. But, in my opinion, black should be more or less okay here. I can see that white still might have an edge if we're able to exchange off the black squared bishops. White should have a small edge, but I think this is reasonable, and in any case, much better than what happened in the game. Anyway, this is easy with hindsight, and also with the help of the computer. In the game, I'm sure Leon thought of this option and decided against it and went for b6. Rook f1, and now a wonderful move by Esipenko. Knight to f1, relocating the knight towards f5. I've told you many times on this channel and on my Spanish channel as well that Victor Bologan, already when I was an international master, Bologan came to play in one of our teams in Spain, and we were in the tournaments. And after the games, we would go for a walk and discuss the games. And in one of my games, I hadn't played so well with the knights, and he told me a secret. He told me, Michael, the secret, one of the chess's strategy secrets is the relocation of the knight. Many times a position is improved positionally by maneuvering the knight to a better position. And he gave me some examples, which of course to all my students I transfer this information. This would be a clear case of relocation of the knight to a better position, improving the position of white. So think about your knights when you're stuck in a positional game and you're not quite sure what to do. The solution might be maneuvering the knight. So, for example, if c5, white would have captured on f6 for sure, and then play knight to e3, put a knight on d5, and go from there. Even so, this position should be more or less playable for black, so it was an option. Leon played rook to fe8. I think he wants to drop back here, but it's going to be difficult because this knight will be hanging. Knight to e3. And now, what did we say in the previous video about moving your pawns when it's not strictly necessary? Of course, he wants to avoid knight to f5, so it's understandable that he goes g6. But this weakness is going to pay its price afterwards. It's going to take its toll. So he should have played knight to d7 and knight to e5. And something like this. This was the way to go, and I think white is okay. White, I still think he's probably better here, but there's no immediate danger and the game can continue. g6 is bad. And white plays rook a d1, just reminding that there is a weakness here. And knight to f5. So the knight jumps to f5, and things are starting to get quite dangerous. There's already some tactical ideas here. The king is weak. The queen can go over to the queen side. Things are becoming very dangerous now. Now, according to the computer, the best move here would be knight to h5, allow this check, and just play this position. And according to the computer, white is better, but there's no immediate win. I'd be very surprised playing this with black that I'd be able to hold this position. So it's understandable that Leon did not play knight to h5. But the computer says black is holding here. What he can't do is capture the knights, because then queen to g3 and queen to g5, he's going to lose the knight, and there's going to be some mating threats as well. So that can't be allowed. And he played bishop to c8, trying to eliminate the knight with the bishop. But of course, knight to h6, king to g7, dangerous to put yourself in the pin, but king to f8, queen to f3, he's going to lose the knight or the mate on f7. So he didn't have much choice here. And now a very simple but aesthetic move, queen to d2, just protecting the knight, but also reminding black that at any moment, queen to g5 is going to come, and this is a decisive pin. And by the way, black can never play c5 because of knight to d5 winning immediately. So you can see the coordination of white's pieces here. It's perfect. And black is a 25-36 grandmaster, so it's not as if black is a weak player just learning how to play. I mean, he's a very strong player. Esipenko in this game is really putting the heat on Leon. Leon played a bishop to e6, trying to play c5 and swap off the knight, but there's no time. Queen to g5. Again, if c5, the move would be knight to d5, take, knight to f5 check, knight to e7 check, and this is game over very easily. So Esipenko had it all calculated. Queen c8, last chance to try and get in this c5, but there's no time. knight to e2, and unbelievably, this forced resignation. Not only does he allow the bishop to drop back to c3 against c5, fantastic, but the knight is going to f4 and h5, and black can't do anything about it. He's completely busted. He's in what we'd call a middle game Zugzwang, and you hardly ever see middle game Zugzwangs, but basically he doesn't have any move. Any move he does is going to lose c5, bishop c3, and then any move that black does, he's just going to lose material after knight to f4 and knight to h5. There's no way of saving material here. So he resigned, leaving us with a very nice attacking game by Andrei Esipenko. I do hope you enjoyed this game. When I saw it, I thought this one is going on to the channel. It was played very recently, in the 4th of April. I mean, this is a really fresh game right out of the refrigerator. And I hope you enjoyed it, that you learned some interesting opening ideas, how to conduct an attack, what not to do when you're defending. And with luck, you'll be able to put these things into practice in your own games, improve, enjoy, learn, have fun, and continue to subscribe. I mean, there's only 30 left to get to 1,000. And I know many of you are not subscribing. Don't know why. I mean, just hit the button. Boom, boom, boom. Easy peasy. We get to 1,000. We unlock some new options, one of which will be programming a live gameplay, maybe on chess.com, maybe on Lichess, we'll see. You can actually leave underneath in the comments if you would prefer to play live in Lichess or chess.com. I'll choose which one is most popular, and we'll get a chance to play against you, and some of those games will appear analyzed on the channel. So get prepared, because if I get a minute in, it's coming out here. See you guys, have fun, see you in the next video.